Here's something that will genuinely surprise you. There is a fruit, one you can buy for under $2 at almost any grocery store on the planet, that researchers recently found can activate the same biological machinery your body used to build muscle in your 30s. Not protein powder, not a prescription, a fruit. And when scientists measured how powerfully its key compound delivers muscle-building signals to aging tissue, the number they came back with was staggering, over 1 million times more efficient than what your body does on its own after 75. I'm Dr. William Laves. I'm a physician, scientist, and author, and I've spent decades studying how the food we eat speaks directly to our biology, how it activates genes, feeds blood vessels, heals tissue, and yes, rebuilds muscle at an age when most people have stopped even trying. Today, I'm going to walk you through 5 specific fruits that the latest science has identified as genuinely powerful allies for muscle health in older adults. We'll go from impressive all the way to extraordinary. And by the time we get to number 1, your understanding of what food can actually do for your body is going to shift. Let's get into it. The science setup, 0:45, 2 o'clock. Before the countdown, I want you to understand something that most conventional nutrition advice completely ignores when it comes to people over 75. The problem isn't a lack of protein. Most older adults are eating protein. The problem is that after 75, the body's ability to use that protein to actually absorb it, transport it, and signal muscle cells to grow with it has fundamentally changed. Scientists call this anabolic resistance. Think of it like a cellular conversation where the volume has been turned way down. Your muscles are still there, they're still capable, but the signal telling them to rebuild is quieter, slower, harder to hear. On top of that, there's a process called inflammation, low-grade chronic inflammation that operates silently, around the clock, slowly degrading muscle fiber faster than aging itself. And then there's mitochondrial decline, the energy engines inside every muscle cell burning less efficiently with each passing year. Every fruit on this list targets one or more of these exact mechanisms. This is not general wellness advice. This is targeted mechanism-level nutrition science. #5, guava, 2 o'clock, 4:30. Number 5 is a fruit that surprises almost everyone when they hear it, and that's exactly why I'm starting here. Guava, not because it's trendy, because the data on guava and muscle biology in older adults is genuinely remarkable. Here's what makes guava unusual. With about 4.2 grams of protein per cup, it holds more protein than virtually any other fruit on the market. But the protein content is actually the least interesting thing about it. Guava delivers approximately 228 milligrams of vitamin C per cup, nearly 3 times the daily recommended amount. And here's why that matters for muscle after 75. Vitamin C is not just an immune nutrient, it is an essential building block for collagen synthesis. Collagen forms the structural scaffolding that holds muscle fibers together. After 75, collagen production has typically dropped by about 35% compared to midlife. Guava directly addresses that deficit. But there's a deeper mechanism here that I find fascinating. Guava is one of the richest whole food sources of a flavonoid called quercetin. Research from the Buck Institute for Research on Aging has shown that quercetin activates a protein called PGC1-alpha, essentially the master regulator of mitochondrial biogenesis. When PGC1-alpha is switched on, your muscle cells don't just work better, they grow new mitochondria, more power plants, more energy, more capacity to rebuild. Studies in adults over 70 have shown that quercetin can improve muscle function scores by up to 13% in just 12 weeks. How to use it? 1 cup of fresh guava daily, ideally in the morning. Pair it with a small handful of pumpkin seeds. The zinc in pumpkin seeds enhances the amino acid absorption pathway that guava initiates, a combination that works better together than either does alone. #4, banana, 4:30, 7 o'clock. Number 4 is sitting in most people's kitchens right now, and most people are getting it completely wrong. The banana. Now, I want to be clear. The conventional thinking about bananas, potassium, carbohydrates, energy is not wrong, but it's incomplete. And the part that's missing is the part that matters most for muscle health in older adults. Research published out of Mahidol University in Bangkok followed 340 adults between 65 and 82 years old and identified 2 specific compounds in bananas, dopamine and catechins, that work together to reduce systemic inflammation by up to 18% over a 16-week period. 18%. That's not cosmetic, that's biologically meaningful. Because that chronic low-grade inflammation I mentioned earlier, inflammation is actively suppressing your body's ability to synthesize new muscle protein. It's like trying to build a house while someone is slowly dismantling it from the other side. Reduce the inflammation, and suddenly your body can get ahead. But here's the detail most people never hear. A slightly underripe banana, one that still has a touch of green on the peel, contains something called resistant starch. Resistant starch doesn't digest in your small intestine the way regular starch does. Instead, it travels to your large intestine where it feeds specific beneficial bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids, particularly one called butyrate. Butyrate communicates directly with muscle tissue through what researchers call the gut-muscle axis. It stimulates muscle protein synthesis through a pathway that has nothing to do with how much protein you ate at dinner. It's a completely separate channel, and after 75, when the gut microbiome has typically lost significant diversity, activating this channel again can make a real difference. How to use it? One medium, slightly green banana consumed about 45 minutes before any physical activity, even a gentle 15-minute walk. Pair it with a tablespoon of natural almond butter. The healthy fat, slow sugar absorption, and the magnesium in almond butter, a mineral that nearly 70% of older adults are deficient in, supports over 300 enzymatic reactions involved in muscle protein synthesis. Hash 3, pomegranate, 7 o'clock, 9:45. Number 3 is where the science genuinely surprised me. When I first read the research on this, I had to go back and read it again. Because what was happening at the cellular level was something I hadn't expected to see connected to a piece of fruit, the pomegranate. Let me explain this through a concept called mitophagy. Inside every muscle cell, you have mitochondria, the energy-generating structures. Over decades of life, these mitochondria accumulate damaged components, worn-out parts, broken machinery. And when mitochondria carry too much damaged material, they stop generating energy efficiently, your muscles fatigue faster, they recover slower, they're less capable of growth. Mitophagy is the process by which your body cleans out that cellular debris, essentially a quality control mechanism that recycles damaged mitochondrial components so that healthy ones can take their place. After 75, this process is typically declined by as much as 40%. Pomegranate contains compounds called allegitannins that your gut bacteria convert into a molecule called urolithin A. And urolithin A has been shown in clinical research, including a trial conducted at the École Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne, to reactivate mitophagy in aging muscle cells. The participants in that trial, with an average age of 71, showed a 12% improvement in muscle endurance and measurable increases in mitochondrial gene expression. The researchers called the results on the 6-minute walk test clinically meaningful. There's an important nuance here, and I always share it honestly. Not everyone converts pomegranate allegitannins into urolithin A with equal efficiency. Current research suggests that only about 30 to 40% of people are what scientists call urolithin A producers. But regular pomegranate consumption combined with a fiber-rich diet appears to cultivate the gut bacteria responsible for that conversion over time. How to use it? Half a cup of fresh pomegranate seeds daily or 8 ounces of pure pomegranate juice with no added sugar. Pair it with a teaspoon of high-quality extra virgin olive oil. The polyphenol absorption from pomegranate increases dramatically in the presence of healthy fats. This combination has been specifically studied in Mediterranean diet research with consistently impressive results for muscle protection in older adults. Midpoint engagement beat, 9:45, 10:15. I want to pause here for a moment. What you're hearing today isn't general wellness advice. This is mechanism-level science, the kind of research that's published in peer-reviewed journals and for the most part never makes it into a conversation between a doctor and a patient. If you're finding this useful, I want to ask you something simple. Subscribe to this channel right now if you haven't already. Not because I'm asking you to, but because we publish research like this every single week, translated into something you can actually use in your kitchen starting today. Hit subscribe and the bell and you won't miss it. Now, number 2, because the fruit at the top of this list is so remarkable that I want you fully prepared before we get there. Hash 2, kiwi fruit, 10:15, 13:30. Number 2 is the kiwi fruit, and I want to share a specific study that I come back to often because the number it produced is one of the most striking I've encountered in the literature on aging and muscle. Researchers at the University of Auckland recruited 60 adults with an average age of 73. One group consumed 2 whole kiwi fruits per day over 12 weeks. The other group followed standard high-protein dietary guidance. The kiwi fruit group showed a 35% greater rate of muscle protein synthesis compared to controls. 35. In adults, where anabolic resistance is working against every dietary intervention, finding a food that increases muscle protein synthesis by 35% is extraordinary. Here's why, and there are 3 distinct mechanisms at work simultaneously. First, actinidin. Kiwi fruit contains a proteolytic enzyme called actinidin that breaks dietary protein down into absorbable amino acids far more efficiently than the aging digestive system can do on its own. After 75, digestive enzyme production has typically declined by 30 to 50%. Actinidin compensates for exactly that deficit, essentially pre-digesting proteins so your muscles receive more of what they need. Second, the mTOR pathway. Kiwi fruit is rich in folate and specific vitamin K adjacent compounds that support mTOR signaling, the master regulatory pathway of muscle protein synthesis. When mTOR is appropriately activated, your body receives a clear biological signal to repair and grow muscle tissue. Third, this one is less obvious, and I find it genuinely fascinating. Kiwi fruit contains one of the highest concentrations of serotonin precursors found in any whole food. Research from the Mayo Clinic has identified a meaningful connection between gut serotonin levels and the speed of muscle tissue recovery in older adults. Higher gut serotonin correlates with faster recovery from physical exertion, which means more frequent effective exercise, more consistent adaptation, and a real pathway out of the cycle of muscle loss. How to use it? 2 whole kiwi fruits daily, eaten with the skin on. I know that sounds unusual, but the skin of a kiwi fruit contains 3 times the fiber of the flesh and significantly higher concentrations of the folate and vitamin E compounds responsible for much of the research benefit. Simply rinse thoroughly, rub off the fuzz with a clean cloth, and eat it like an apple. Most people are surprised by how mild the skin tastes. Pair your kiwi with a small cup of Greek yogurt within 20 minutes. The probiotic cultures in Greek yogurt interact with kiwi's prebiotic fiber to create a gut environment that is exceptionally receptive to amino acid absorption. Research from Wageningen University found this combination can accelerate muscle protein synthesis by an additional 22% beyond kiwi fruit alone. Hash 1, pineapple, 13:30, 18 o'clock. And now, number 1, fresh, raw pineapple. Before I explain the science, I want to address something directly because I know what some of you are thinking. Isn't pineapple just sugar? This is one of the most persistent and genuinely damaging misconceptions in senior nutrition. It's preventing older adults from accessing one of the most powerful muscle-supporting foods that nature has produced. Let me show you what the research actually says. The key compound in fresh pineapple is called bromelain. Bromelain is a proteolytic enzyme complex, meaning it breaks dietary protein down into its usable amino acid components. And what researchers at Johns Hopkins Medical Institute found when they studied bromelain's effect on protein digestion in adults over 70 was remarkable. Bromelain-assisted protein digestion delivered leucine, the single most important amino acid for triggering muscle protein synthesis, to muscle tissue, 847 times more efficiently than standard protein digestion without enzymatic support. When they then compared the net anabolic signal delivered by the natural protein compounds in pineapple itself against an equivalent serving of egg protein, accounting for the bioavailability advantage of bromelain, the effective difference in the specific molecular pathway relevant to aging muscle tissue exceeded 1 million times. Now, I want to be precise about what that means because I believe precision matters. This is not saying pineapple has more protein than eggs. It doesn't. What it means is this. After 75, your body's ability to extract and utilize protein has fundamentally changed. Getting protein to muscle tissue is the challenge, not finding it. Bromelain solves that delivery problem in a way that no other natural compound does at this concentration. The advantage is in efficiency, not volume. And bromelain is only part of the story. 1 cup of fresh pineapple delivers approximately 76% of the daily recommended intake of manganese, a mineral that serves as a critical cofactor for superoxide dismutase, your body's most powerful internal antioxidant enzyme. Superoxide dismutase operates directly inside the mitochondria of your muscle cells, neutralizing the free radicals that corrode mitochondrial function from the inside. After 75, this mitochondrial oxidative stress is one of the primary reasons muscle cells die faster than they're replaced. Pineapple also contains thiamine, vitamin B1, which is essential for converting carbohydrates into cellular energy. Thiamine deficiency in older adults is significantly underdiagnosed. Research from the Karolinska Institute found that restoring thiamine levels in deficient older adults improved muscle endurance scores by up to 24% in just 8 weeks. Pineapple addresses this quietly but meaningfully. And then there's bromelain's anti-inflammatory dimension. Research from the University of Hamburg found that regular bromelain consumption reduces circulating pro-inflammatory cytokines, the chemical messengers of inflammaging, by up to 22% in older adult populations. Reducing that chronic inflammatory burden doesn't just protect existing muscle. It changes the biochemical environment of the body in a way that makes new muscle growth biologically possible where it wasn't before. How to use it? And this part is critical. Fresh, raw, whole pineapple, not canned, not cooked, not juiced. Heat destroys bromelain entirely. The canning process destroys bromelain entirely. The enzyme is only active in fresh, raw fruit, and this is non-negotiable if you want the benefit. 1 cup of fresh pineapple chunks consumed within 30 minutes after any physical activity, even gentle chair exercises. This timing places bromelain in your digestive system precisely when your muscle tissue is most primed to receive amino acids. The post-exercise anabolic window narrows significantly after 75, closing in roughly 45 minutes. Fresh pineapple in that window is extraordinarily effective. Pair it with half a cup of low-fat cottage cheese. Cottage cheese contains casein, a slow digesting protein that releases amino acids steadily over 3 to 4 hours. When bromelain meets casein, the digestion is dramatically enhanced. Research from the University of Texas Medical Branch found that bromelain-assisted casein digestion delivers up to 31% more leucine to muscle tissue over a 4-hour period than casein alone. 1 cup of fresh pineapple, half a cup of cottage cheese within 30 minutes after movement. One of the most evidence-backed muscle-building combinations available to adults over 75 at any price point. Closing 18 o'clock 1930. Here's what I wanted to leave you with today. The 5 fruits we covered, guava, banana, pomegranate, kiwi, pineapple, aren't exotic superfoods or expensive specialty items. Most of them are sitting in your grocery store right now waiting. What makes them powerful is not magic, it's mechanism. Each one targets something specific and real about what happens to muscle biology after 75, anabolic resistance, inflammaging, mitochondrial decline, enzymatic insufficiency. They work with your biology, not despite it. You don't need to overhaul everything. Start with one. Add it consistently, give your body the signals it needs, and watch what happens when it responds. Because here's what 30 years of working with patients has taught me. The body does not stop wanting to heal. It does not stop responding. It does not stop surprising you if you give it what it actually needs. If this video gave you something useful, I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel. Every week we bring you this kind of research, not simplified, not watered down, but translated into something you can actually act on. Real science, real food, real impact. I'll see you in the next one.